Okay, so I keep lying to you about these videos, and I keep saying this is the last video on Shark Attack, but I'm talking about lawyers, so I've got to keep saying things like that. I keep saying, sharks and lawyers, same thing. Well, actually, lawyers are much nicer than, no, sharks are much nicer than lawyers. I'd rather be bitten in my ass by a shark than bitten in my pocket by a lawyer. But I'm going to continue with more information on Shark Attack because it's an important subject, actually. And it's a difficult subject to discuss. And what I failed to mention in earlier videos, which I should have actually, and I apologize, but like this whole series, if you watch my whole series, I don't script it. I just speak and give my knowledge over, and that for me is the best way to do it because it's real. I don't want to be scripted and all that kind of stuff. I know what I'm talking about. I don't have to read anything. I don't rehearse any of these, and I just go. So, excuse me. So that is why there might be some strange quirks in the way I do things. But anyway, what I should have mentioned before is that Shark Attack, first of all, as I did mention, there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding it and a lot of misinformation. So now I've explained to you, which sharks are really dangerous: the great white shark, the bull shark, and the tiger shark. And I think you understand that we know which other species are potentially dangerous, etc., etc. But when it comes to actual Shark Attack, there's so many different facets to it. People just see a Shark Attack, and they don't see a Shark Attack, they hear about a Shark Attack, they read about it. So what's happened over the years through the media and through misinformation provided by the media, and also just information not being available to people, when there's a Shark Attack, it's just a man-eating monster grabbed a person and ripped them to pieces and ate them. Like I explained, most shark attacks are just bites. Some shark attacks are full kills. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about great white shark attack now. But actually, let's just go straight into great white shark attack. The point is this, that shark attack in general is not cut and dry. It's not black and white, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm talking about white shark attack now, but it includes bull sharks and tiger sharks as well. But it's more to do with the great white shark than the bull shark and the tiger shark. Well, I'd say it's most to do with the white shark, sort of midway to do with the tiger shark, and then a lot less to do with the bull shark or the dusky shark. Those sharks that swim in really turbid waters, up rivers, river mouths, etc., in the surf zone. But when you are looking at Shark Attack, and why I'm explaining this to you is because I'm going to actually give you an example of a specific shark attack, a fatal shark attack that I personally investigated. But you have to look at so many different facets. There's the species of the shark. It's the activity of the water user. Was spearfishman, was the bodyboarder, was the surfer, was they a body surfer, just was it somebody swimming beyond just swimming, a bather beyond the back line? Was the person in the surf zone? What was the visibility of the water? Was the other prey in the area? Was there other fish in the area? Was it near a seal colony? What time of day was it? How were the sea conditions? The surface conditions. There are so many different factors that you have to drag in if you really want to analyze a shark attack correctly, because not all shark attacks are the same. Sometimes it's just very simple. And very often with great white sharks, especially when they're big great white sharks, there's no rocket science to it, there's no mystery. It's prey, predator, predator looks at prey, predator decides I want to eat that, and bang, done. Overnight, no complications. There's no guesswork or mistaken identity, all the stuff that you hear about. But very often when it's a smaller great white shark, there's other factors that come into it. A smaller great white shark in really good visibility will, and let's say it's a 2.5 meter great white shark, for instance. Now that's a small great white shark. Well, and it's good visibility and you're on a surfboard, might come up and investigate you and even nibble at you, kind of thing. So it's curious and it doesn't know what you are, but you're too big to really take a chance of it. And probably 99 out of 100 times the shark won't come near you and will swim away. But you'll get that odd little nutcase, as I explained to you, that ballroom brawler, great white, and even a young one will come up and investigate. And it's called a shark attack. And that's not a shark attack. That's an investigation or an investigatory mouthing or whatever it may be. So then it all changes. So the size of the shark, the species of the shark, the conditions, the activity, everything comes into play if you really want to take dissect a shark attack. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not cut and dry, as I've said before. Now, to put this into perspective, I'm going to tell you a story about a guy called Andrew Carter and Bruce Corby. Now, these are, unfortunately, Bruce Corby was fatally killed in this specific shark attack. Now, to set the scene, the shark attack took place at a surf spot called Nahoon Reef off East London, which is on our east coast of South Africa, and it's a point break. It's quite a long paddle out to the reef. It's actually a very interesting area when it comes to shark attack. It's also the only place in the world where you've had a double attack on two people from a shark, a great white shark. And it's also the only place in the world where one surfer has been attacked by two great white sharks. So it's a very fascinating place. And I'll discuss that now as well, that interesting situation where the two sharks attacked one surfer. But Bruce Corby and Andrew Carter were out at Nahoon Reef. Now, as I said, it's a point break, and the reef is quite far out, and it's very rocky, and from the reef it drops off deep quite quickly. So basically you're in deep ocean, and you got bait fish and you got reef fish. So you got sardines and you got mackerel swimming past in schools, and then you got the local reef fish on the bottom, and you got sand tiger or ragged-tooth sharks that live there, and then of course you got the predators like great white sharks, then you got the larger predators which are following the bait fish like the mackerel and the sardines. So you got yellowtail, or you got small tuna, you got bonito, those kind of things that are actually, or garrick is also a predatory fish, a game fish, that are following these schools of smaller fish that occur around this reef and this point. And then of course you've got the great white sharks that come around the point, and they will be feeding on the larger predators such as the garrick and the bonito and the yellowtail and whatever larger game fishes in the area, and other smaller shark species. So that is the setup at Nahoon Reef. And on this particular day, this was quite a number of years ago. I can't remember the exact date. It doesn't matter, it's not important. But Andrew Carter and Bruce Corby were out there surfing, and they were pretty close to each other, and both well-known surfers, good South African surfers. And Andrew Carter was lying on his surfboard paddling, and Bruce Corby was sitting on his surfboard. And a great white shark, a large great white shark, came up from nowhere, and there's Andrew Carter's surfboard, and hit the board like that. Bang. And what saved Andrew Carter's life was that he was lying on the surfboard. And the surfboard actually saves a lot of lives. There would be a lot more fatal shark attacks if it weren't for the surfboard. Because what happens, a great white shark comes up, and the bottom jaw, the teeth in the bottom jaw anchor the prey. and the top jaw comes down, and then the shark shakes and pulls out the large section of tissue, or gives a death blow. But when the bottom jaw hits the surfboard, it doesn't get anchorage, it doesn't get purchase on the human on the surfboard. And this is what happened that day. So the shark came up, hit Andrew Carter's surfboard. Andrew Carter fell off the surfboard, and the top jaw came down and lacerated Andrew Carter. He got on his buttocks, and he got lacerated quite seriously, but not anything that was life-threatening. But it was a big shark. I examined the scars and the wounds. So the surfboard, in effect, thwarted the attack. So he hit the surfboard, Andrew Carter fell off, and then the shark's jaw scratched or scraped or lacerated Andrew Carter. So now there's blood in the water. The shark gets the blood into its mouth, into its nostrils. It knows it's hit something that's alive, but then its jaw comes down and it's holding an inanimate object. It's holding glass fiber and foam. So the shark is confused, right? Now the shark doesn't know what the hell is going on. And at that moment, the shark pushed through the water. Andrew Carter literally grabbed on the other side of his surfboard, and he was being pushed through the water with this great white shark holding onto his surfboard. And then the shark, realizing that it hadn't got any result from the attack, or it got nothing, right? It just got a piece of foam in its mouth and glass fiber. And at that point, the shark let go of the surfboard, and violently, so it was a violent, fast thing. I'm not talking about coming up and biting and pushing. It's like bang, 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 bang. It's all happens in seconds. Extremely violent. So the shark lets go of the board, and Bruce Corby's sitting there watching what's going on, and the shark swims up and grabs Bruce Corby on the leg and rips his leg off. So this is a big shark. For a great white shark are powerful, but for a shark to come up and grab you on the leg and literally rip your leg off in one bite, you're talking about a very large, powerful animal. And we could also see from the bite marks on the surfboard that it was big. Probably a shark was around about 4 meters, and that's a big great white shark. And Andrew Carter climbed back on his surfboard. Him and some other surfers, they all got back to shore. They tried to get Bruce Corby back to shore alive, but unfortunately, by the time Bruce Corby got to the beach, he had basically bled out, and he died from the attack, which was very, very sad. And I went and I visited Andrew Carter in the hospital, and just by chance, unfortunately, when I walk into the hospital room, there's Bruce Corby's parents. So I went out onto the balcony while they were dealing with it. So it was very, very sad. But now, when you look at it, and of course this was all over the newspapers, absolutely, but the point is this: when you look at that shark attack from the outside, and you don't understand great white sharks, you don't understand shark attack, your assumption is that this is just one crazy man-eating shark. Okay, so maybe it is one of those barroom brawlers. But that is not the fact of it. That is not the essence of it. So you tell somebody, okay, this great white shark came in and it attacked one guy, and it didn't get what it wanted to, and it just went off and grabbed another guy and attacked that guy and killed him. But let's reverse this whole story so you understand. I'm trying to give you something here to think about where you actually understand shark attack, and specifically great white shark attack, because they're very specific predators. Great white shark is completely different to any other shark species. So now you've got deep water and you've got the surface on top, and they're on their boards, and a great white shark is a stealth predator. So this particular shark swims in that day, and he's circling, or she's circling. Let's just say he, nobody knows what sex the animal was. But the shark is circling on the bottom, and it's dark down there. It's dark reef, and it blends in perfectly with that reef. The water's pretty deep. And that shark might have been circling around there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Nobody knows. But let's assume it's circling around for 10 minutes. And now it's watching, and it's hungry. And it's doesn't have to be opportunistic at that moment. There is a possibility it was completely opportunistic, but I'll explain to you why I don't think it was being an opportunistic predator on that day. It was being a calculated predator. So it went down, and it wasn't opportunistic. It could take its time because it was hidden away by the depth of the water and the color of the sea floor. So it circles around, and while it's circling around, it's building up this attack energy. You know, it's like the adrenaline starts pumping, for want of a better term. It's like, you know, Michael Bolt just before he's getting ready to do a race, and the shark builds up this attack energy, and eventually decides, okay, that's my target. For some reason, whatever it may be, the color of the surfboard, the movement of the surfer, whatever it would be, but that great white shark would select one. If there were 10, I don't know how many surfers were out there that day, but let's say there were 10, the great white shark purposely selected a specific prey item, surfer. And so the shark selects the person, selects the victim, and blasts up to the surface, hits it as hard as he can to make a kill. Jaw comes down, Andrew Carter gets lacerated, he falls off the surfboard, the shark has a surfboard in his mouth, but it hasn't had any reward. So it's got all this energy, and that energy would carry through the entire attack. So that would be kill. That hit would be the kill, would be a mortal blow, and then the shark would continue attacking and feeding. And as it does that, it gets rid of its energy, and then it'll start feeding easily and taking the victim apart. But the fact that the attack was thwarted and it got the surfboard in its mouth, the shark still had all that attack energy in it. And it spat the surfboard out, and it swung around, and the first thing it saw in its way, or in its sight, if Bruce Corby wasn't there, the shark wouldn't have done anything. It would have probably just sped off, you know, or maybe circled around a couple of times and taken off. But the fact that Bruce Corby was so close, the shark grabbed Bruce on the leg and ripped the leg off. And we call that displacement behavior. So it was displacing its attack energy. So what I'm trying to say is Bruce Corby was not the target. Andrew Carter was the target. Bruce Corby was collateral damage, for want of a better term. And that is what happened. That, as far as I'm concerned, is what happened. So the shark, and then like I explained, you get opportunistic attacks, and then you get calculated attacks such as that. And yeah, that's all I can say about that. But that gives you a very good understanding of the fact that it's not just simple, mindless killing. These are calculated, very intelligent predators, and there's always lots of different angles to it, and aspects to it, and facets to a shark attack. And then a shark attack occurs, for whatever reason it may be. Now, as I've mentioned earlier, and this is just out of interest's sake, it's also the only place where one surfer has ever been seen being attacked by two great white sharks. And they were big sharks. And the surfer was a teenager. He was literally on the surfboard, and there's actually video footage of it. And you see these two sharks come in at the surfer. Now, you could say that it was working together, for want of a better term, you know, like cooperative hunting, but I don't think so. Great white sharks, as I explained in white shark general biology and behavior, often move together, and there's seasons that they move together. So these two sharks probably came along, and for some reason, I don't know, but for some reason that particular surfer out of all the surfers attracted those two great white sharks. And there might have even been a competitive aspect to it. And they both came rushing in to attack this one target, this one victim. But I don't think they realized they were both attacking the same victim, the same surfer. And that is what saved the surfer's life. If it was just one of those sharks attacking, they would have got the surfer. He got knocked off his board. He got knocked flying off his board. But those two sharks, just by some miracle, came together at the same time And they actually, you can see it, they actually gave each other a fright. And they thwarted each other's attack, each other's strike. And they basically went away and they smashed into the surfboard and knocked the surfer flying, this kid flying. And that is what saved his life. That's what saved him from being attacked by a shark. As I say, if there was just one shark, it would have hit him. But by some miracle, those two sharks came in. But now, again, it goes back to this misunderstanding of shark attack. So if you're just looking at it from the outside without understanding how great white sharks function, then you would just assume that they are mindless, crazy killing machines, that they're just rushing in a group now with two of them, and why not three of them or four of them to attack something? It doesn't work like that. There's a reason behind everything. Like I say, just in summary, there are specific great white sharks that just don't give a shit, and especially the larger ones. There's a surfer, there's a spearfisherman, bodyboarder, and there's usually a big great white shark. That's the target, that's the prey. I'm taking it out. I don't have to investigate. I don't have to go and mouth it. I'm not curious. I'm hungry. That's food. I'm going to go eat it and kill it. And those attacks are generally fatal. But then you get the other ones where it's smaller sharks and they're not real attacks. It's an investigation. It's curiosity. It's mouthing. It's the same thing that happened with Mick Fanning, that 3 times world champion surfer. And I've met Mick Fanning actually several times, even in Tahiti. And, you know, a small great white shark came up to investigate him. And what happened, you know, everybody said the shark attacked him, but the shark never attacked him. Shark came up and swam into the leash. And the leash is, for those who don't surf, is that bungee sort of cord that connects the surfer's ankle to the surfboard when he falls off, so the surfboard doesn't get washed away. And you can clearly see the shark comes up to the back of the surfboard, swims into the leash, the shark panics and starts smashing around and bites the leash off. And that is what happened. It was not an attack. So you can't consider that an attack. But anyway, I hope that through what I've explained to you now in shark attack and these specific incidents, that you have a better understanding, a better depth of understanding how shark attack works. It's not just cut and dry. It's not black and white. So there we go. Hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you learned something from it. Thanks a lot. Don't get eaten.